I've been experimenting for some time with different ingredients to come up with the perfect Snickers recipe. There have been a lot of trial and error along the way, but I believe I finally found it. I'll be showing you two recipes, the original Snickers and a healthier version. As you heard, healthier. After all, it's a chocolate bar, so a little indulgence won't hurt. And if you're not subscribed yet, please pause the video and subscribe. I'll remind you again at the end of the video. Snickers has four main components: nougat base, caramel filling, peanuts, and a chocolate shell. Let's start with the most annoying / complicated part, which is the nougat. It's typically made from hot sugar syrup whisked into egg whites, which cooks the egg whites and produces the regular nougat texture. I tried to replace the egg whites with aquafaba, but that ended up in the trash. Also replacing it with whipped cream ended up as ice cream instead of nougat. And finally, I found something that works. In a saucepan, I added half a cup of sugar and about 40 milliliters of water with a squeeze of lime. Let this bubble on medium heat for about 10 minutes. If you drop the syrup in cold water, it should have a gel-like texture. That's when you know it's time to take it off the heat and immediately add in half a teaspoon of agar-agar powder. Mix everything well and move it quickly to a stainless steel bowl where you can whisk it. I'm using an electric whisk or egg beater here. Once you get this thick white texture, add in about 4 tablespoons of almond powder and move the mixture to a parchment paper. Work it with your hands, then shape it into a ½ centimeter thick rectangle. Keep this in the fridge. It should be ready for use in half an hour time. For the caramel sauce, I added about half a cup of sugar and 1/4 cup of water to a saucepan. Keep swirling the pan but don't stir it. I let this bubble on medium heat till the sugar starts caramelizing and have this amber honey color. Then I added 50 grams of vegan butter and made sure it's well incorporated. Then took the pan off the heat and added some non-whipped whipping cream. You can use any vegan heavy cream, but I found whipping cream to work the best. The amount of cream you add will have an effect on how runny your caramel is, so add about 30 milliliters first and let the caramel sauce cool down to room temperature. If it's too thick or starts crystallizing, put it on low heat again and add a little more cream. You want this kind of texture at room temperature to see the caramel oozing out of the Snickers bar once you break it. I put 2 layers of caramel on top of the nougat. The first one is a bit thicker, peanuts layer, then a lighter layer of caramel. You can cut this into bars whenever you feel it's not gonna make a mess. I did it after I put in the peanuts and before the second layer of caramel. This goes to the fridge for about 30 minutes or until everything firms up. I used salted peanuts to counter all the sweetness, but feel free to use plain roasted peanuts. Let's go to the healthier version now, and we'll do the chocolate cover for both versions at the same time. Don't skip to the chocolate part yet, you might see something you like in this version. So for the nougat, I boiled 100 grams of cashew nuts for about 15 minutes until they softened. Then drained them and added them to a high-speed mixer with the following ingredients: 4 tablespoons of coconut cream, only the thick part without any water, 50 grams of almond powder, 1 teaspoon of coconut oil, and 2 tablespoons of maple syrup or any sweetener you prefer. I let this run until I get a very creamy and thick texture. Sometimes I wonder how would I have survived without a Vitamix. See, this little thing here makes all the difference. I had to Google its name. It's called tamper. Because it's a thick mixture, it will be hard to get your mixer running without opening the lid and moving things around all the time. Thank you, Vitamix. Make sure to wipe down the sides of the container to get everything well mixed, and you should end up with something like this. This goes into a container, then freezer for a couple of hours. Oh, here is something worth mentioning. If you have a better idea than a glass container that might keep the rectangular shape, please use that. It wasn't super hard to get it out of the container once frozen, but I'm sure there's a smarter way, like lining the container with parchment paper for example. For the caramel sauce, super easy. 150 grams of pitted dates and oat milk. Run it in the food processor and keep adding milk slowly till you get a smooth and silky texture. Add that onto the nougat and peanuts layer on top and put it in the fridge this time till you get the chocolate ready. I cut the healthier version off camera because taking it out of the container requires some juggling and sleight of hand, which was not something to write home about. Now to the chocolate part. Keep in mind I'm not a chocolatier by any means. If you're only making one of the two versions, then 200 grams of chocolate should be enough. I'm using a dark vegan chocolate bar. I'll melt it over simmering water. Make sure the water is not boiling. The steam will be more than enough to melt the chocolate. Then I'll add about 2 teaspoons of vegetable oil to thin the chocolate and make it easier to spread, and also keep it bendy like this. Usually coconut oil or butter also thins the chocolate well, but it firms up at room temperature. And I don't want the chocolate to snap when you bite into it, so canola oil works pretty well. Few useful tips. Get yourself a silicone spatula if you're dealing with chocolate. And when you take the chocolate bowl off the heat, remember to wipe the bottom, so no water drips on the chocolate while pouring it. Finally, if you have a silicone mold like this, it will make your life easier, I assume. I'm using this chocolate for both Snickers versions, so I use double the amount of chocolate. First patch on a parchment paper, and then I spread it out using the spatula to have a thin layer as the base of the Snickers bars. Lifting the paper also evens out any ridges. I let this cool down for a bit, and once it starts to firm up but still sticky, I laid down the bar so it sticks to the base. Then in the fridge for 15 minutes, and then the other half of chocolate on top. I put this in a squeeze bottle to be more precise with the chocolate cover. If you don't want to use a lot of chocolate, especially for the healthier version, you can just drizzle some on top or use some of the chocolate shavings. Again to the fridge till everything is firm, and then cut the bars out. The original Snickers bar tastes exactly like the real deal. It's crazy. I'm not really a sweet tooth guy, so the healthier version is my favorite. But don't get me wrong, I'll demolish this whole plate in no time. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. I made so many mistakes doing this recipe, so I think I'll be able to help. And please subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it and you want to see more. Thank you for watching.